I'm Omi Bell. This is Urban View Mornings. Thank you so much for joining me. I am super excited to be here with Teri Williams, the President and Chief Operating Officer of OneUnited Bank. We're going to talk about an amazing event that she has going on tonight called the Power Shift. And I'm just curious about a few of her thoughts on the Power Shift, where she think we are as a country right now, and what that Power Shift needs to be. But first, I'm gonna put some respect on your name, Terry, and read this bio because I think
Oh,
if you don't know, you should know. Okay. Teri Williams is the president and chief operating officer of One United Bank. She is responsible for implementation of the bank's strategic initiatives as well as the day-to-day operations of the bank. These operational areas include all of retail branches, marketing, compliance, lending, informational technology, customer support, legal, and human resources. She believes the financial services industry has not connected with urban communities to fully support economic development and wealth building. She brings 30 years of financial services expertise from premier institutions such as Bank of America and American Express, where she was one of the youngest vice presidents. Ms. Williams holds an MBA with honors from Harvard University and a BA with distinction from Brown University. Ms. Williams is the author of I Got Bank, What My Granddaddy Taught Me About Money, published by Beckham Publishing, a financial literacy book for urban youth. Ms. Williams has received numerous notations and awards for her contribution to urban communities, including from the Urban League, NAACP, and the National Black MBA Association. Welcome to the show, Teri Williams. So I'm so excited to have you here. You have an event happening tonight, the Power Shift, Black Women at the Forefront of Change, featuring you and a few other lovely, lovely ladies. We also have Dr. Carrie Mitchell Brown, Dr. Charlene Sinclair, and the Honorable Crystal Wagner. Talk to us a little bit about why is it important for the Power Shift event to happen now?
yeah. First of all, thank you for having me and even reading that bio. I'm like, oh yeah, that I did do all that. So thank you for that. Um, and the reason that we're having this power shift is really because a power shift has happened and has been happening. And I would say as Black women, we always knew our power. We always knew what we do, what we accomplished. But the world has consistently underestimated us, undervalued us even. And so really we're making the point that we've always been here and now we're stepping into our own. The whole way in which Kamala became the superwoman that she always was, and everyone seemed to be surprised by it. And we're like, no, this is who she always was. And we're here to share with you. There are a lot of, Kamala Harris's in our community. And we're doing something, as Michelle Obama said. We're doing something.
100%. One of the things I really love about this is that, in complaining and people complaining sometimes about the change that needs to happen, we don't often stop to note the change that has happened. And so, from your perspective, when you talk about there has been a power shift, can you make it a little bit more tangible for us? Where are you seeing, or how would you describe the power shifts that have happened?
Yes. So first of all, you mentioned that I'm the president and chief operating officer. I'm also the owner of One United Bank, and we are the largest Black-owned bank in the country. And just to give you an example, about 10 years ago, we used to talk about ourselves as being a community bank that happened to be Black owned. And we made that shift and decided to go unapologetically Black and says, no, we are a Black owned bank. We also, during that time, started to support Black Lives Matter, which, today you look at and everyone's talking about Black Lives Matter, but at the time it was considered to be a terrorist organization. But we're like,
Mm.
no, no, social justice and economic wealth building are intertwined. And we believe in not only the civil rights movement, but also the new movement of Black Lives Matter. That was a shift that happened. And I can tell you, people warned us about making this shift. They said, oh, you're going to lose customers. White people aren't going to bank with you. Black people aren't going to bank with you because they think, their ice is colder. And if they have a chance between banking with a Black bank or a white bank, they're going to bank with a white bank. If they have a chance to go to a Black doctor, a white doctor, they go to a white doctor. And the exact opposite happened. Our customer base tripled So when I say power shift, it's really part of it is us recognizing our strength, us showing our strength to the world, and the world recognizing that, when you have a community that always felt we had to be twice as good to just get what we deserve, you have a community that's ready to step up in leadership. And so that's the shift that's happening.
I love that. We also have more Black leaders in existence across multiple companies. I think that's a shift. What do you say to the notion that there's like this sort of strategic effort to shift the power away or shift the power again, through banning diversity, equity, and inclusion things, through the sort of chilling effect that happens because of these people who are suing, different people like the Fearless Fund. What are your thoughts around that in terms of like what you've seen over the course of your work and your lifetime as well? Like, I'm interested to hear your take on it.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's important for us to recognize is that there are more of us than there are of them. And what I mean by that is that there are more of us that support diversity in America and understand the value of diversity than those that are fighting it. We also have to look back at history and see that there's always been backlash to our progress, but yet we continue to progress. We've only been legally free for 60 years. Like that's when the Voting Rights Act was passed. It was only 60 years ago. We've been legally free. And look how much we've accomplished in that 60 years. Does that mean that there isn't a lot of work to do? Absolutely. There's still a lot of work to do. But we are now, at a position where we could actually make a change. Whether that's, owning a bank, whether that's our elected officials, whether that's our culture, there's so many ways that have been impacted by our strength. And so it's important for us to realize that change has happened and that there are more of us than them, but there definitely is going to be backlash, and that's to be expected.
Yeah. When we talk about your event for tonight, the Power Shift, is it just about financial excellence, or is
No.
it okay? Talk to us about it. I'm so
Yeah,
excited for
yeah,
it.
yes, yes, yes. So first of all, it's for Black women, and it's live stream, so it's gonna be live, unfiltered, and we're each from different fields. We have an activist, we have an elected official, myself as a bank owner. We have a wonderful psychologist who helps organizations deal with change. So we have a variety of women, all, successful in our fields, and have used our fields to support and promote Black people. And we're just going to talk about, sort of where things have been, where they are today and where we're going. And so, and it is, it's an opportunity for people to ask questions, to really participate in an unfiltered way. When we, use, and this is no offense to media, because I'm talking to media, but when we look at, media and their, I guess, descriptions or their discussions about Black people, there's a filter there that happens, and we want to have an unfiltered conversation. So yes, please join us. You can go to blackwomenpowershift.com to sign up. And it's going to be live.
So tell us the website one more time.
Yep, it's blackwomenpowershift.com.
Blackwomenpowershift.com, and that's tonight. It's from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Make sure you go and sign up. Okay.
Let me also say it's very consistent with what you all do every day. So shout out to Urban View, and shout out to you, Ami. It's just, what you all do every day is inform our community. You focus on, what we need to do to address what's going on in our community. And that's this show is really very much in line with that approach to, talking to our community. It's real, it's factual, and it's activating.
Thank you. 100%. SiriusXM Urban View will talk, empowers, and becomes action. And every host here is absolutely about that. So we appreciate you. So talk to us about you, right? I think that, as our audience listens and we talk about the power shift and we think about the power dynamics and Black women leaders, who inspires you? What are some other Black women pioneers that you see yourself either admiring or maybe even following their footsteps, like Magdalena Walker,
Yeah.
or some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So when I describe who I am, I used to say my resume just as you read. But what I realized, and unfortunately not that long ago, is that I am my honey's great grandchild. My great grandmother was a businesswoman, but I never thought of her that way because, growing up, she was just my great grandmother, but she owned, a barbecue pit, a juke joint, a penny candy store, and a bunch of apartments. And I used to just follow her around. And I realize the reason that I was successful at Brown and majored in economics or Harvard Business School was because I grew up with my great grandmother. And I also say to, your listeners, everybody has a ma honey in their life. Whether that's your auntie, your godmother, there is someone that inspired you that is close to you that you may not recognize. And what I hope is that you recognize them and celebrate them while they're living. Because for me, it just hit me, once she had passed. And I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I think I'm my honey. Like, I think, I have become her. And he was like, well, of course you have. Of course you have. She inspired a whole town. And so I sometimes we look to, I hate to put it directly, but we sort of look to corporate institutions or other, specifically white institutions, or to validate us or to say this is how we became who we are. We talk about our degrees and what has happened, but really, where we were inspired are by the Mahanis in our lives. Annie Coachman was her real name, but we called her Mahani.
I love that. I love that. Do you identify as a Black woman leader or as a woman leader? And do you feel like it's a particular importance to distinguish between the two?
I identify as a Black woman leader. First of all, I identify as a Black leader, Black woman leader, and a leader. But Black is always my first identification. I'm unapologetically Black, grew up Black, and I know what it feels like to be discriminated against, to be underestimated. When I walk into a room, that's who I think, how the world identifies me. So that's how I identify.
How do you overcome those when I walk into the room? You're the owner of
Mhm.
One United Bank, and that is a huge accomplishment and a huge thing to be the owner of, a huge entity to be the owner of. How do you handle, how have you handled backlash? How have you handled pushback? How have you handled people underestimating you?
Mm. I, for me, the biggest way to handle, well, first of all, hate is with love. Let me say that, but also education. There was a time when, even our community didn't realize that there were Black-owned banks. In fact, some in our community thought that there couldn't be. They were like, oh no, they wouldn't let us own a bank. Or that an individual, owned a bank. So, a large part of it is really education. Banks are businesses. In fact, there are 5,000 banks in the country, and the majority of them are owned by individuals, families. And so part of it is just education. And then part of it is also to help everyone understand the importance of Black ownership of businesses. There are many times where, we could have made more money, but chose not to because we believe that what the offer was going to. Black ownership is important. And that's an education that is needed in our community, but also in the white community.
How do you stay inspired? And so, like on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, are there things you do, activities you partake in? What are some of the tactics and things that you use to stay inspired?
Mhm. Well, first of all, I walk every morning and I listen to podcasts. So that helps me with my exercise as well as, just gives me a different perspective. I'm now listening to The Wonder of Stevie. I highly recommend it. Great
Mm.
podcast that just came out. But I listen to podcasts. That inspires me. But I also love what I do. I really feel like I haven't worked a day in my life. I am passionate about banking and bringing banking services to all communities from a perspective that is urban, Black, and I just love what I do.
I love that. I love that. And so tonight, everybody make sure you tune in to the conversation. Go to blackwomanpowershift.com and make sure you register and check out all the pieces. The Power Shift is an interactive live stream event happening tonight from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. It will explore the pivotal role of Black women in driving progress in politics, economics, activism, and social justice while highlighting the barriers they've shattered and the legacy they continue to build. The host, Dr. Carrie Mitchell Brown, a cultural architect and equity strategist, will be joined by President and COO and owner of OneUnited Bank, Teri Williams, the nation's largest Black-owned bank, and Dr. Charlene Sinclair, a scholar and senior advisor, and moderated by the Honorable Crystal Wagner, attorney, lobbyist, and former first Black mayor of Miami Shores, Florida. Thank you so much, Teri, for joining me this morning. I really appreciate all that you shared. Is there anything else you would like for our audience to know before we close?
No, just keep doing what you're doing, Ami. It's really, it's very important, and it's why we support Sirius Radio Urban View, is really because of your show and all the shows that really focus on, how we can improve our country.
Thank you. We thank you for your support. Thank you so much for being here with me this morning. All right, y'all, we got to